This is an ABC News special report.
And good afternoon. I'm Whit Johnson in New York. We're coming back on the air because a judge has just sentenced Sean Diddy Combs to 4 years in prison. He was found guilty over the summer on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution in connection with his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura and another woman, but was acquitted on more serious charges that could have sent him to prison for life. Let's get right to our chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katersky, who's been following this trial from the beginning. He joins us from outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan. So, Aaron, we just got the verdict right there. We know that Combs himself spoke to the judge. The judge responded. Lay out the sentencing here and what went down in the courtroom today.
She said he has to stay.
This was a very long sentencing hearing, which Sean Combs himself, once larger than life, was left begging for mercy, standing at the defense table, telling the judge that he's a changed man, apologizing for his behavior. But that request for a lenient sentence of time served was rejected by the judge, Arun Subramanian, who said it was insufficient to send the kind of message that he wanted to send, that violence against women must be met with real accountability. And so he sentenced Sean Combs to 4 years in prison. That's not as much as federal prosecutors here wanted. They wanted 11 years in prison, reminding the judge that Sean Combs has a penchant for violence and abuse, pointing to 2016 hotel security video showing Combs attacking Cassie Ventura. Combs says he knows that video intimately. He apologized to Cassie Ventura. The judge said 11 years was unreasonable, but 4 years is just the right amount, the judge said, to send a message to Sean Combs, to victims of domestic violence, that their accounts will be taken seriously. Whit?
Aaron, thanks. Let's go ahead and bring in a trial attorney and ABC News legal contributor, Brian Buckmeyer. Brian, we just heard Aaron lay out right there that the defense was hoping for 14 months in credit for time served. The prosecution wanted 11 years. So this is somewhere in the middle. Is this verdict what you expected?
It actually was not what I expected, and this is why I say that. The probation report said anywhere from 70 to 87 months, much higher than the 50 months that the judge gave. And understand, and I'll try to break down the math as best as I can, the judge understands the math of how this all works. With 50 months in the federal system, you only do 85% of that. So you take away about 8 months or so, that's 42 months. And don't forget that Sean Combs has already been sitting in MDC, the jail here in Brooklyn, New York, for 13 months. So you subtract 13 months even from that, you're looking at something like 2 years, maybe 3 years at the end of the day. The judge knew that and still gave this sentence. I think if you're Sean Combs and his defense team, a hard day, but overall a win for them.
Okay, Brian, stand by for us. So let's bring in criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor and ABC News legal contributor, Bernarda Villalona. And Bernarda, we've also saw today some emotional testimony. We saw numerous children of Sean Diddy Combs speaking before the court. Combs himself saying that he's a changed man. There was this video that they put together talking about Combs being a family man, his impact on the community. How much of that do you think made a difference here in the judge's decision?
Well, today was definitely Judgment Day for Sean Diddy Combs. So what the judge told Sean Diddy Combs was like, look, in terms of your life work, of all the good you've done, in terms that you're a great father, it doesn't erase what I heard and what I saw during this 8-week trial. And what he heard and saw during this 8-week trial was one of Sean Diddy Combs taking advantage of Jane and Cassie by being violent to them, taking advantage of their emotions, having them engage in several sex acts, either by drugs or alcohol or by the manipulation. And the judge sent a message that, yes, you have family, yes, you have people that love you, but Jane and Cassie were victims, and victims should be accounted for, and someone should speak for the victims and deter this type of conduct. And that's why the judge didn't go with the 14th month recommendation by the defense, but instead handed down a sentence of 50 months, 4 years and 2 months, to show that this is accountability, this is deterrence, this is protecting the public, and this is what the verdict is going to be today. And when people remember Sean Diddy Combs, they know that he is a convicted felon sentenced to 50 months for his actions throughout a decade on women.
And Aaron, this verdict today follows a 2-month trial, emotional, at times graphic testimony. We saw more of that play out today, at least the emotional part. But we can't forget the victims that were part of this, and there was some other color that played out in the courtroom today. Just walk us through some of the other things that we heard and what you saw.
It was a dramatic sentencing hearing, atypical of what we usually see here in federal court in Lower Manhattan. With the defense presentation lasted for hours. The defense called no witnesses during trial, but his attorneys, 5 of them, effectively acted as character witnesses for Sean Combs, talking about his achievements, how he's influenced them in the community. But the judge said that a lifetime of good works cannot erase his other conduct, and federal prosecutors urged the judge to look at the Cassie video, to consider the violence he inflicted that they said was life-altering for women. Sean Combs himself grew tearful as he turned to his children to apologize for his conduct. He told his mother, "You raised me better." And his children crowded around a microphone at one point, 6 of them, each pleading the judge for his immediate release. His daughters sobbing through their presentation to the judge, begging him to give their father a second chance to return him to the family. But you heard the judge say there was a need for deterrence, a need to show victims of domestic violence that their accounts will be taken seriously. That's why he said he imposed a 4-year sentence on Sean Combs. He also did something else, Whit. He added a $500,000 fine. That's the largest amount allowed by the law. But the judge again said it was part of the sum total of Combs's conduct. That's why he deserved it.
And Aaron, I just want to talk a little bit more about the atmosphere around the courtroom. We were looking at images of Combs' children coming in and out of the courthouse, also some helicopter pictures overhead of the crowds that have gathered there. I know throughout the 2-month trial, you saw plenty of crowds out there every single day as this played out. Talk more about the cultural impact here, because as a rap mogul, he touched so many different people in different ways. And the judge actually referenced that today when he was speaking to Combs.
He did, Whit, and he knows the cultural impact of Sean Combs, his pop culture icon status, his celebrity, but he also knows what Sean Combs did. And though he was not convicted of crimes of violence, federal prosecutors convinced him that violence was part of his repertoire, repeatedly inflicting it on people like Cassie Ventura, on people like Jane, the pseudonym for another one of his girlfriends who testified here. There are hundreds of people who are out here in Lower Manhattan in front of the courtroom, many of them supporters who were hoping that they would see Sean Combs walk out of those golden doors of the courthouse a free man headed home to Miami, as he said he wanted to go to care for his children and his mother. Many others, detractors, who say that Sean Combs deserved to spend time behind bars because they, like the judge, could not be blind to the very conduct that they saw on that video from 2016 in the Los Angeles hotel, Combs attacking Cassie. When the sentence was handed down by the judge, Whit, Combs was sitting on his hands, expressionless.